We are often told that we should not be selfish, that we should love others more than ourselves. Is that how it's supposed to be? Let's consider. Jesus does not necessarily back this line of thinking up. It's true, Jesus doesn't want us to be greedy or narcissistic, but he says something a little bit different about loving oneself. Let's take a look at what he says. When Jesus is asked what the greatest commandment is, he gives a twofold answer, pulling both answers from the Torah. The first answer he gives is love God above all else. The second answer he gives is love your neighbor as yourself. And that's the key part that we're looking at right now. Love your neighbor as yourself. What is the standard by which we are to love our neighbor? Well, it's how we love ourselves. If we do a poor job of loving ourselves, then we're going to do a poor job of loving our neighbor too. I'm not simply here to tell you that it's not selfish to love yourself first. I'm here to tell you that it's necessary to love yourself first. In fact, let me make this point by quoting Mother Teresa. Fill yourself first, and then only will you be able to give to others. If we love ourselves, we have a deeper well to draw from when we love others. We can only give others what we have. If we don't love ourselves first, if we do not see to our own needs first, we will have less to offer others. In fact, when we love ourselves not only first, but well, it will boil over within us and we will have so much more to share with others. It's like when you're on an airplane and they tell you to put your own oxygen mask on first before helping anyone else. If you're traveling with someone who is not capable of fully taking care of themselves, then you want to help that person first. It's natural to try to help the person who is less capable because you, being more capable, can take care of yourself later. But in this case, if you don't help them first, you may pass out. Then not only will you not have the mask on, but the other person won't either. And so, in a similar fashion with life, in some ways you have to take care of yourself first so that you have something left to give to others. Please notice, though, that I did not simply say that we need to love ourselves. I said that we need to love ourselves well. How often do we not love ourselves well? How often do we repress our feelings, saying that we should not feel that way? How often do we deny ourselves the things that we need because we are trying to come up to some exterior standard? How often do we withhold love from ourselves because we truly think we are not good enough? I will love myself once I lose that 15th pound. I will love myself once I earn that job that I've been vying for. Shame is not only the enemy of loving ourselves. Shame is the enemy of loving others too. The reason is because when we don't love ourselves well, we have so very little to offer to other people. What does love of self look like? Well, the first thing that I want to remind you of is that God is love. We are created in the image of God, and so we are created in the image of love. The second thing I want to remind you of is another quote from Jesus, and this one is also made in the language of a commandment. Jesus says, "Love one another as I have loved you." Now here's where I'm going to appeal to those math nerds out there. We're going to start out with love your neighbor as yourself. And so love of neighbor is equal to love of self. Then we move on. Love one another as I have loved you. Okay, so love one another is equal to God loves you. And then we can make an identity between love one another and love of neighbor. That equal sign with the 3 bars there, that doesn't simply mean that they are equal. It means that they are identical. And then we just do substitution. So for love one another, we replace God loves you. For love your neighbor, we replace that with love yourself. Because loving yourself is equal to loving your neighbor, and because loving one another is equal to God loving you. When we do that substitution, we get love yourself as God loves you. That's the transitive property of love. We must love ourselves as God loves us. And that brings up the problem of how we view God. The reason for that is because we really do love ourselves the way that we perceive that God loves us. Father Matt Lynn makes this point very well in his book, Good Goats. If we think that God is a harsh judge, how will we love ourselves? Well, we'll probably judge ourselves harshly. If we think that God is disinterested in us, how will we love ourselves? Well, we'll probably think that nothing we do is all that important. But if we think God values us, that will change how we view ourselves. Then we have a chance of valuing ourselves. In a quirky way, we are selfish if we don't put ourselves first. Look at me. Look, I'm putting others first. How magnanimous of me. Am I not such a glorious person? We may not even be making that statement to other people. We might be making it to ourselves. It might just be an ego trip. Perhaps our self-image is invested in the fact that we put others first. Perhaps our self-image is invested in the idea that we are not selfish. Perhaps. But what about selfless love? Aren't we supposed to deliver selfless love to others? Well, we'll talk about that next month. Until then, this is Ray Hurdle with St. Luke Catholic Church for Theology Quip Notes.